This is all the hot mic stuff. Are we live yet?
We are live now. Yes, you guys.
Oh my God, we're live. Sorry, folks. Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to Ben and David's Hookah Lounge.
Ben and David's Hookah Lounge, live from Southern Oregon. It's Tuesday night.
But wait, don't order yet. Don't order yet, folks. This is exactly what you tuned in for, isn't it?
It is. You know, I got to say something. It's super funny. It's a secret. If you were in FreeOregon's town hall yesterday,
secret?
It's a secret. Nobody knows. So plug your ears, Dave. But during the live town hall, I don't know if you noticed when my mute went on and my screen went. I turned my screen off. So I was sitting here. I played ball yesterday for the first time in the week because I didn't play last week, and I got the worst hamstring cramp right during the town hall. It was terrible. Almost completely took me out. But I recovered well and got back to it.
Good. Yeah, you must be getting old. Didn't you just have a birthday?
Yep, 44.
Oh, God. I remember those days. I felt good at 44. So here we are, another episode of David and Ben's Adventures in Cape Brown Stan.
Or you can otherwise known as Stand for Freedom Live.
What's that?
Otherwise known as Stand for Freedom Live.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've kind of hijacked that thing, haven't we? we are. We actually are here standing for freedom. And an interesting, of course, the big news of the day is our dear leader, who has required everybody to wear masks, has weaponized every agency in the state of Oregon to make businesses pit businesses against their customers. Ruin business relationships, make everybody wear a mask, make everybody stand 6 feet apart, make it so you can't eat inside, and all that crap that we've been enduring during these 622 days of 14 days to flatten the curve, was having a fun time in D.C. at a fundraiser for probably, I guess, the governor appointee from the Democratic Party, Tina Kotek, among other things. But she was there and she was maskless, right? And our meeting. The only people there that were wearing masks were the employees, the people serving drinks, Yeah. And of course, Kate Brown's staff comes out with this BS line that, she was wearing a mask except when she was giving a speech and eating. Well, that's crap. She wasn't wearing a mask the whole time. We know that. And, she wants to make mask mandates permanent in this state. And here she is out doing whatever she wants, gallivanting around the country, no mask. And we're expected to not say anything, right? And the media didn't ask any questions until today.
Yeah, and actually, to Kate Brown's credit, I just want to give her a little credit here. You'll rarely hear me give her any credit, but I do want to give credit where credit's due. I mean, the likelihood as she's galvanizing around the country raising money that she would land in a state with no mask mandate is extraordinarily high because there's only 5 states in the U.S. with mask mandates, and we're one of the 5, and they're all on the West Coast. So she's going to states that probably don't even have mask mandates, so she probably doesn't have to wear a mask. That's
right. And apparently the irony of that and the dissonance of that is lost upon her. But finally, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people know, there was a concerted effort on Twitter. A group of people started out, I think about 10 or 15 people. It's up to 25, maybe 30 now. I haven't really checked. I'm in a message thread with them. But these people on Twitter wanted to know why the hell no one is asking her about this. Because it's clear that Kate Brown believes it is perfectly 100% safe to go to large indoor gatherings without a mask. She believes that. I believe that Kate Brown, like every other human being on the face of the earth, would not risk her own life unnecessarily. And she believes, that it's perfectly safe. But the media is not asking any questions. The media looks at that like, oh, what a nice event, man. It looks like, they're looking in the background. Oh, it looks like everybody's having a great time. Hey, look at all those very progressive people. Those are our kind of people. We'd like to have access to those people. So they're not asking anything. So a bunch of people on Twitter, and some of them have been very vocal critics of the way the schools have been shut down, the way kids are being forced to wear masks. So they got together and they started, hitting all these media outlets. So finally today, a reporter, Genevieve Rameau, I believe is her last name. I'm not real good with French, much better with other languages, particularly English, though not really good with English, just enough to get by. But Genevieve of KATU was on site where Kate Brown, I don't know if you saw this video or not, where Kate Brown was coming out of someplace, and she tried to ask her a question, and Kate Brown, her staff said, "We're not taking any questions." And
tyrants don't need questions.
Tyrants don't need questions. Super majorities don't need questions. You little people don't need questions. And I'm sure the conversation after this, why the hell is somebody from KATU asking us a question? Somebody make a call.
Who do they think they are? Who do they think
Who
they
do
are?
they think they are?
The media?
Yeah. Somebody make a call to KATU and tell them to stop this stuff. I mean, this is, we won't have this. And so that's the way we are in the state of Oregon. And, it struck me just before we went on, actually, I was washing the avocado tacos off my hands. And I was thinking to myself while I'm washing my hands, number one, I was thinking, man, this water's hot. I should probably turn down the water heater because I think about those things. But number two, I was thinking, and now I lost my train of thought.
Well, that's okay
COVID.
because you're who do they think they are, right? Who do they think they are asking a governor questions of their own hypocrisy, right? Who do they think they are letting a sitting president send out tweets? Who do they think they are? They're not allowed to do these things. Like, who do they think they are not wearing a mask? Look, here's the problem with this hypocrisy, and this is what's really, really scary and also simultaneously sad to me. It's that it's the same thing that's happening in my own family. My family, my wife and I, we got coerced and were forced into a situation where we had to make a really tough decision. We ended up getting vaxxed. And so we got vaxxed and then COVID went through our household relatively soon after. And we never had COVID up until after getting, the mandated thing. And so
right.
what happened is with my own family, parents, my mom and my stepdad, my own parents, they won't come and see us. They won't come to our house. We haven't seen them physically in a very, very, very long time. And they say that my own stepfather told me the other day on a text message that he doesn't feel safe in our house. Yet at the same time, he'll go over to his sister's house for Thanksgiving and hang out with their masks off and have Thanksgiving. But it's because the hypocrisy, what it's creating is it's creating a political ideological divide. If you're a left-wing supporter, then you can take off your mask. You can go to a party and take off your mask. If you're a right-winger, if you believe in freedom or a patriot, as they say, then you're dirty and you're dangerous. And you of course, if you have your mask off, there's a problem with you. It's this hypocrisy is what creates levels in society where there are truly an oppressor and an oppressed. And in our public school systems, the state of Oregon is teaching its kids that there's an oppressor and an oppressed based on critical race theory, based on your color of your skin. But in reality, in actuality, the oppressor and the oppressed is actually a political ideology. The oppressor is actually the one that's peddling this crap and not the one who's standing against it. And so this is a situation like you and I were talking before. I was telling you before we just went live about my new friends I made at the restaurant that are from Ukraine. And they said, you need to fight. We've seen this before. This is communism. Y'all need to wake up. And you said, yeah, and you mean fight. They don't mean sending tweets. They mean fight. They mean fight. Yeah. And we need to fight. We need to fight this. This is ugly. It's disgusting. It's tyrannical. It's oppressive. When you put on your mask and you walk into a grocery store or a restaurant, you are oppressed. You are accepting that oppression. Today there's this great handle on Twitter called Rose City Outrage. So go give them a follow at Rose City Outrage. And they've been sending out great stuff. And today he tweeted, he goes, or she, I don't really know who he is, or they are. But today they tweeted, anybody seen the Oregon State Constitution? Is it still there? And the reality is that it is still there. I've seen it. I've read the Oregon State Constitution, but it's not going to be enforced by anyone else but the people. We have to enforce it with our actions and our decisions, and we need to stand up.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason the Constitution was written, and it's exactly why we even have a Constitution, is to limit government, to limit tyrannical powers, to limit what the founders knew and passed on to the states, because every state is guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution to have a Republican form of government, passed on to the states that government is it's an evil thing, and allowed to grow, it becomes oppressive. And it's a really good point that you made. You know, we've been from the left, we've been marginalized as politically, I'm not sure quite how to say this, but politically unqualified to make medical decisions. It's not that we're not smart enough. It's not that we don't have the information. It's that we're politically not qualified because we don't, like you said, if you're a leftist at a swanky DC event, even though, you know, apparently everybody's vax card was checked, and that doesn't mean anything. You know that. It still goes through your household. You know, you can go without a mask, but that's what the far left, and that's what we're fighting against here. It's not Democrat versus Republican. And Restore Oregon Now and FreeOregon, Ben Edtl, CEO FreeOregon, me, the chair of Restore Oregon Now. You know, we're nonpartisan. It's not a Democrat Republican thing. It's the state against the individual. And that is exactly why the Constitution was written, was to guarantee the liberty, the personal liberty of the smallest minority in the country and in the state, which is the individual. And I remembered the thought that I had while washing the avocado tacos off my hand. And the thought I had was this conversation that we're having now, at that time we were going to have, is a conversation that people in other states don't have. People in South Dakota don't have this conversation. People in Florida don't have this conversation. People in a number of other states don't have this conversation. And as you pointed out, there's 45 states that don't even require masks. And here we are in Oregon trying to get the news to ask why our commander in chief, the dear leader, is running around maskless while trying to impose permanent mask mandates on us. And it's just, 2 years ago, if you had told me that the government in any state, of course, I live in Oregon, you live in Oregon, people say, well, why don't you go to other states if you don't like it here? Well, I tell you what, because I live here, because my family lives here, because I have millions of dollars invested in my business here. This is where I live. I don't have to go to another state. And if you're trying to destroy the state and you're trying to destroy America, then I will do everything I can to crush you because I don't like you. And if you're afraid that you're going to die. Yeah. If you're afraid, if you think that I'm trying to kill you by not wearing a mask, well, maybe I am trying to kill you because I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah, totally.
But other states are not having this. What's that?
I said we got to stop the spread. We got to stop the spread of this communism and tyranny. We have to stop the spread of these other people that are like, get out of there, man. I'm leaving Oregon. They're smart to leave Oregon. I think you're smart to get the heck out of here. You're smart. But I'll tell you, if we leave and we don't fight it and stop it here and crush it here, it can't just stop it. You have to crush it. You have to crush it. It is cancer. This communism is cancer. This tyranny is cancerous, and it has to be crushed. And it's cancerous because it infects the weakest people in our society. The weakest people. Just today, it was announced that some of the weakest people in the state of Oregon that were relying on the state of Oregon to pay their rent, they got their checks bounced. And it's the weakest people that grab a hold of it. Thomas Jefferson said so. He's like, hey, without the Electoral College, all the people have to do to run for office is say, we'll promise to pay all your bills and give you $25,000 a month. Vote for me. And then they would. And that's why we have an Electoral College. But look what's happening. That's what's happening in our state. And in order to get those things, all you have to do is just submit. Just submit to your body, state. Give it up to the state. Let them make the medical choices for you. Let them make your kids eat lunch outside. That's why the governor of Oregon, on a bucket, so that the governor of Oregon can go to LGBTQ soirees, raising money for the next tyrant to take her place, while your kids are eating outside in the 40-degree weather because it isn't raining.
On a bucket.
On a bucket. It's insanity, man.
On a bucket.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
And so all
it is insanity.
Yeah, cover up your face. Be ashamed of yourself. You know, when I put on a mask, you know what I feel? Shame. I feel shame. Why? Because I'm covering up my filthy face, and I'm a spreader of filthy germs, and I feel shame because that's exactly what Muslim women must feel. They must feel total shame when their faces are covered up, and if something slips out, then they could get arrested or flogged. In Australia, you get a $90,000 fine now for not wearing a mask. But I feel shame, and I just won't do it because I feel shame. I feel ashamed of myself for covering up my face. And I know you do too. That's why it's so important when you see the governor act the way she acts, then you know the science is that their science is bullshit. You know it doesn't work.
Yeah, it is.
Masks don't matter.
Yeah. Well, the science that's written on the side of the box of masks that says this mask does not protect against viral, and some of the things say specifically COVID-19. The scientists from the manufacturers said that. Those are the science. But and the point I was making, and you touched on it here. If you had told me a couple of years ago that we would be told to stay home from work, close our businesses, not allow people inside of our businesses, force people to wear masks, and all of this crap that has been going on, fire people from their jobs because they do not submit to a medical procedure, I would have thought you were crazy. I'm not from the Ukraine. I 2 years ago, I would have said, no way. That can't happen. This is America. This does not happen. And here we are. And we need to get on the way out. So one of the things I noticed in this group, these are a group of people who I think are fairly new to, this group of Twitter people who I think are fairly new to what's going on, politically. One of them asked the question, and this is something we touched on last week when we were talking about the importance of raising money, when we were talking about the importance of not only investing your time and your talent, but also your treasure in this, fight for liberty. One of the questions that was asked was, why haven't any groups formed to combat this?
One of the Twitter folks did that?
Yeah. Now that's a legitimate question, right? I mean, you would think with all this going on, Ben, wouldn't some group have formed, or maybe even a couple of groups formed, to take this head on and make a plan, make a strategy, recruit volunteers, get organized, and present a full-scale assault, get petitions, go to the city councils and the county commissions, file lawsuits, have rallies and protests outside of schools, administrative offices, go maskless shopping at Washington Square. You would think somebody would do that, right?
You would think, you would totally think.
Yeah. So here's the point, and we've come full circle to what we talked about last week. When we did both the 2019 and the 2020 recall, and that's what Restore Oregon Now is. Restore Oregon Now is the repurposed recall Kate Brown volunteer group. A couple thousand volunteers. We have over 20,000 people in our Facebook group, and a huge mailing list of people that are willing to show up and do things. So when we got to the end of the 2020 recall, let's just use that one. We collected 277,000 signatures. We needed 280,050, so we were like 2,744 short, whatever it was. When we got to the end of that, probably 80, maybe 90% of the voters in Oregon had no idea there was a recall. The media only covered it when we filed it. And then they covered it again when it failed. So why doesn't this person know about the group? Because you and I both, man, we're out there everywhere. We're on all the, social media channels. We're trying to collect, as much contact data as we have so we can stay in contact with people. But the fact of the matter is there's just a lot of people out there that don't know. And that's one of the things, is when we talk about raising money, and everybody wants to raise money at the end of the year. When we talk about raising money, that's one of the most important things we can do. We can get FreeOregon out there in front of people. We can get Restore Oregon out there in front of people. We can get Oregonians for Medical Freedom, or whatever the group is. And, we both work with as many of those groups as we possibly can, because we're all on the same side rowing the same direction. But the fact of the matter is there's 4.2 million people in Oregon. Between the two of us, we might represent 30 or 40,000 people. And there's millions of people out there that just don't know what's going on. And, it's hard to get organized and to do stuff. It's not easy. It's taken you a long time to get organized, although I would say, man, you've done it in just great time. You have some great volunteers, great people. Restore Oregon now has some really great volunteers. We're all volunteer. Most of us are all volunteer. Some really great people, some really great leadership. It takes a while to get organized and to get effective. And I just, when I see that, I feel bad. I go, hey, we're here. Let's join forces. So I thought you might find that interesting.
That's super interesting. I just recently started getting active on Twitter. I've had a Twitter account for a long time. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? We're getting shadow banned everywhere else. They haven't shadow banned us on Twitter, and we are doing just that, David. We have to, as a group, as a coalition, as a unified front, we have to pool our resources together and go outside of the big tech social media, because they're censoring us. The fact of the matter is they are keeping us away from each other. And the mainstream news media is nothing more than a government media. They are not going to upset Ted Wheeler or Joanne Hardesty, or when Joanne Hardesty goes to rehab for meth and alcoholism, leading up to her defund the police decision making and fighting. Then she goes to rehab. Like, I don't know about you, Dave, but the last year that I was drinking, I wasn't making very clear-headed decisions.
I wasn't either.
Not even the first year I wasn't drinking. So I can just tell you right now, the media didn't say a word, and multiple people within the city that were high up were reporting that she was in rehab, but the news media didn't say anything. They protected her. But you know what they're doing? They're protecting a criminal, because Joanne Hardesty is just one small example of the damage that's being caused by this color revolution in the city of Portland. I mean, just yesterday, we had a guy going up I-5 North, carjacking random people after breaking in armed robbery into someone's house, ended up shooting multiple people, ultimately was shot by the cops. They had shut down I-5 North from the Fremont Bridge to Delta Park. And then during that time, someone was murdered in Lloyd District, and no police were able to show up. And then the police had to do a press conference saying that if you have an emergency, we can't come right now. And that was the city of Portland. Almost 1 million people in this metropolitan area, where you might as well be in the wilderness, because if you call 911 for police support, they can't come. That's Joanne Hardesty for you, okay? And the media never even says a word. They just support. So when they interview me at these rallies in downtown Portland, they don't put me on the news, man, because I tell the truth and I'm well spoken, and I'm convincing because I'm telling the truth and I'm well spoken. They're like, nah, we can't put this guy on the air.
No.
We have to go outside of the system. We have to go outside of the earned media, and we have to put up billboards. We have to put up radio ads. We have to put up TV ads, because this year is a political season. If any of these media outlets deny our advertising, then they're denying political ads during a political campaign season. Like, what that is bigger news than not telling the news. So we have to get around it and go outside. I know that the FreeOregon base is super pumped. They want to see billboards. They want to see the fruits of their labor. And I'll tell you, if you want to go to courts in the state of Oregon, good luck. The courts are corrupt. The judges are full of crap. They misinterpret the law purposefully. and it's a corrupt system. I mean, we tried to recuse Suzanne Bonamici's husband, Judge Simon, who's totally corrupt. And he got, we had a different judge, and then it got moved to Simon, okay, for our Nuremberg case in federal court against the state of Oregon. It got moved to Judge Simon, Suzanne Bonamici's husband, and then we asked him to recuse because he has a vaccine mandate in his courtroom, so obviously he's a little biased. And then Judge Hernandez, the Chief Justice, denied our motion for recusal and misstated the law and misrepresented or mischaracterized our argument in his decision. So now we're moving through this process, and it's like, this is totally corrupt. The judicial system is supposed to be a check on the executive branch, and right now, the only check is us. It's you and me and everyone watching. It's us, David. It's us.
Well, it is. It is. Yeah. People have to understand, the media, for journalists, and I use that word quite loosely, but they all like to think of themselves as journalists. They all like to think that they're really important, that, these stories that we bring to you just wouldn't happen without your support. And there's this little, tag on every outlet now that's begging for money. We just send us money so we can continue to report. But what people have to understand about journalism is that the currency of journalism is access. And if you criticize the elite, then you lose access. And that is the worst thing that can happen, apparently, to a journalist, is to lose that access. And what they're losing, essentially, is a steady stream of press, what are amount to press releases from the ruling party, from elected officials. Say, here, read this on the air. Instead of asking the tough questions, instead of risking that phone call to your general manager from the governor's office, and that happens every single day. Instead of risking that, they just coddle them and say, "Oh, hi, hey, how you doing? Good." And they get a little press release to read on the air, and then they have a story. And there's just nothing. There's nobody out there. Well, I won't say nobody. There's quite a few people out there that are willing to do it. Laura Logan's willing to do it. Cheryl Atkinson's willing to do it. I mean, there's some people out there that are willing to do the tough things. But locally, you have reporters that are willing to go after a business, but they won't go after a Democrat elected official. They're willing to go after a Democrat or a Republican, but they're not willing to go after. They're just not willing to ask these questions. And so I just want to give one more shout out to Genevieve Renault for asking a really tough question. And, it'd be interesting to follow and to find out what happens to her. I don't watch the news, so I don't know how often she's on. I don't know anything about her. I just saw her account on Twitter. I saw the video. But I wouldn't be surprised if she gets less assignments now. I wouldn't be surprised if she has to go do something else, because that's the way politics works in Oregon. There is anyone who crosses the ruling party, and that's what we need to fix in the state of Oregon. Restore Oregon Now is taking the bottom-up approach. We're trying to bulletproof the city councils, bulletproof the county commissions by passing ordinances and resolutions. And trying to make them, as small of an autonomous governmental agency that we can. We encourage everybody to do the same at their school boards. And FreeOregon Now is hitting hard on organizing people, getting them getting a big voice, raising enough money to hit with the legal system where it really hurts. And we've had some success. FreeOregon's had some success. I know that you had quite a bit to do with Portland Public School District reversing their vax mandate. And we've had some success getting resolutions passed at the cities and counties, saying no to these unconstitutional mandates. But like you said earlier, I just wanted to bring it around full circle. It's us. It's not going to be some elected official that is going to save it. It's not going to be the next city councilor or the next, we need good people elected, but that's not going to happen if the people don't organize together, do something useful. rather than post a bunch of crap on Facebook, which can be useful, but I was an early adopter and a very early proponent of digital media. I started in 2009 when there was hardly anyone in Oregon using any kind of digital media. I traveled the country and met with the best minds in digital media for several years. And so I am all about digital media, and I have operated quite a, more than 100 accounts for campaigns and organizations over the years. But that alone does not do it. You have to show up. You have to show up at Washington Square without a mask and go shopping with 100 other people. You have to show up in front of, a school administration building and yell at the top of your lungs. You have to show up at your city council meeting. You have to show up at your school board meeting, and you have to show up at your county commission meeting, as well as showing up in Salem. And you have to do it every single time. It's the only way these people will. It's the only way we can get our liberties back, I guess. There's another way, but we owe it to those that have fought and died for the Constitution to not take that way yet. It's always been reserved. That's what the Second Amendment is for. But it's the only way, we can get back what we have lost.
And if there's nothing else you can do, go into the store the next time you walk into a retail store or a restaurant or a grocery store, and walk in there without your mask. If that's all you can do right now, just take that one step, because you know what? No one's going to say anything to you, but if they did say something to you, you can either turn around and leave, or you can just continue with your objective and see if they stop you, because they can't. They can't stop you. And so you just have to show that you're not going to comply if that's all you do. And yes, that's the start, That was the start for me. I just decided I wasn't going to comply. Because if I didn't comply and then some other, moron down the road didn't comply, then me and him or her could get together and we could start a little trend,
We'll both be canceled.
Yeah, we'd both be canceled, hung out to dry. But, I'll tell you, you don't have to be smart, clearly, to be a freedom fighter. You just got to do it. You just got to be brave. You just got to be like, you know what, boom. And I know you're listening. I know you're watching right now, and you believe with us, and you stand with us, and we're all shoulder to shoulder. But you know what? You go and you walk into the store because you don't want a confrontation. And I'm telling you right now, no freedom was ever earned, won, or gained without confrontation.
All right.
So we're gonna have to be ready for confrontations, and those confrontations, you can stay cool and you can stay calm, or you can go berserk and ape shit. I don't really care. Sometimes I'm both. Sometimes I'm cool, calm, and collected. I laugh and wink as someone's like, "You're gonna kill people," and I wink and go, "I got immunity, bud." And like, or sometimes I'll be like, "What are you gonna do? You gonna take it off? You gonna put it on my face yourself, bud? I want to see you give it a shot." And see when they're, run off, call 911, because they're scared people. The people that are going to say something to you are susceptible to fear. And you and I and Dave and the rest of us, we're less susceptible to fear and more susceptible to being uncomfortable when our liberties are infringed. Yeah,
well, that's what got me at the very start of this. And it sounds like you were on the same page that I was. We didn't know each other at the very beginning of this. We've become friends and allies since, but at the very beginning I said, no. This is not, I don't care. I don't care if this is the plague. You don't do this. The government does not shut your business down. The government does not make me stay home from work. This is not how it works. And to your point, you just made, you're not alone out there, because, there's hundreds of thousands of us, maybe 1 million of us in the state of Oregon easily. I know that if we could, somehow reach everyone who felt the same way as we do, I know there would be close to 1 million people that feel the same way we do. And the point is, if not more, yeah, because this crosses all party lines. I have communion and common ground with people on fairly left. People who believe, most of the leftist tenets, usually social issues, because the left is all about social issues anyhow. They're not about any substance. But we have common ground in so much as that our individual liberty has been usurped and trampled on and completely taken from us. And the point is this: if you don't if you don't, this is a double negative. If you don't comply now, if you're not willing to be non-compliant, if you're not willing to revoke your consent to be governed now, then the option is going to be extremely bleak, and it's going to be extremely bloody, and it's going to be extremely excruciating for many, many people. So the point here is we have constitutional methods, to put government in check. And one of those is non-compliance. It is civil disobedience. It is revoking your consent at the ballot box. It is revoking your consent at the intersection between a unconstitutional mandate, administrative rule, or even a law, that intersection between that law and law enforcement. This is some serious stuff. And but the alternative is way more serious. Your friends from Ukraine know this. My friends from Poland know this. My friends from China know this, that if you don't stand up now, you will not be standing in the future, because this beast just continues to grow. And there's lots of us, and it's easy to do. If you can't show up, if you're too busy, like Ben says, walk in without the mask on. If that makes you uncomfortable, write a check to the people who are going out there and doing what needs to be done, because money greases the wheels of everything. There is no political action without money. Even when the Tree of Liberty is being refreshed, ammunition is not free. So, when the country, that's what Benjamin. That's what Benjamin Franklin, that was his full-time job, coming up to the revolution, during the revolution, was running over to Europe and gathering money for the war. War is not cheap, and we don't want to go there. We should certainly have that option. But, if we don't fight this now, we're going to end up optionless.
We are. And what else is really concerning to me is, if you notice, just with your own eyes, that these people don't play by the rules. They don't play by the spiritual principles that we play by. And not to say that we're perfect people, because that's the furthest thing that would be the furthest thing from the truth to make that claim.
Especially us two.
Especially the two guys you're listening to right now.
Yeah.
But they don't play. But even then, the way that they play is incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible to me what they're trying to do and why. And so the fact is that imagine when they have enough power where they can just shoot us in the streets. Imagine when they have enough power to lock you up for saying something that they don't agree with. That's what the digital passports are all about. That's the end game for these people. They want to be able to turn you off and starve you out and force you to submit completely. That's what they want. First, they're going to send everybody away that's not a diehard, and then they're going to force the rest of us into submission. And you know what they're going to do? Just like every communist country, totalitarian nation we've ever seen in the human history, they will go take over their neighbors. So Idaho, when you're sitting there feeling like you're nice and free, you wait. You wait until that happens. You need to have our backs right now. If you're anywhere in the middle of the United States, all the way to Florida, you need to know what's going on the West Coast, and you need to be supporting it. If you're watching this from South Dakota, you need to write a check, because we are fighting for you too. We're fighting for everyone across this country to quash it right now, and we're gonna quash it. We're gonna fight hard, and it's do or die. We're either gonna get quashed or we're gonna quash them. That's it. But that's the fight. That's the fighter in both the people like us. We're not gonna give up. And so. That's the reason why when the United States abruptly left Afghanistan, that the Taliban just popped right back up and took control, because that's how I'm gonna do it. They won't be able to win. It doesn't matter if it takes 20 years or 50 years. Like, we ain't giving up. This is the United States of America, as last time I checked, and so we're acting like Americans here.
Yeah, it's a long-term investment. It's a long-term commitment, and America, at various points in its history, I can't verify this because I'm not that old, but at most points in its history had people had a civics education. People understood and read the U.S. Constitution. People discussed the constitutionality of this, that, and the next thing. But that's been removed from our society. And, it's up to us to help educate people. It's up to us to empower people to do what they may think they may not be able to do. And that's, that's one of the things I've been doing for the last almost 13 years now, is just trying to empower people, say, hey, this is what you can do. With Restore Oregon Now, you can sign this petition, the Stand for Freedom petition that we have, and we will present it at your local government. We will present your signature, and you as a supporter against these illegal mandates, these executive orders, these unconstitutional laws. If you become a member of Free Oregon, you'll be empowered to speak up. You'll be empowered to support lawsuits. The law. We are a land of laws. In my opinion, far too many laws. I think we could do with about 1/10 of them personally, but we are a land of laws, and that's what makes our country work. It's a multi-pronged approach. So the reason we come to you on a weekly basis on Tuesday is just to interact, tell you what we're doing, tell you what you can do, and how we can help you. So if you want to find Free Oregon, how do we find Free Oregon?
Well, go to freeoregon.us, freeoregon.us. And if you want to know about the little tea party we're having at Washington Square next Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, just go to freeoregon.us and look up the events. It's up there. And then there's going to be at least a couple hundred people, and we're all meeting at the parking lot at Dick's. And then we're just going to spread out, go shopping, and meet up in the food court and have some lunch and be nice. We're not going to wear any American apparel, nothing of political nature. We're just normal people. Gee, how you doing? Good to see you. Very nice. Yep. And what we're going to hopefully do is inspire hundreds of more people to not shop with their mask on. And that's what we're going to do. It's the only objective for Saturday. And I can tell you, I go there frequently. It's near where I live. That's my nearest mall. I don't wear a mask there, and no one ever gives me any kind of grief. And so go to freeoregon.us and find out the details about that and other events we have upcoming, as well as make a donation and join freeoregon.us/join and join us, because we need you. Dave, how do you can find Restore Oregon Now at restoreoregonnow.org on the internet. You can find us on Facebook, Stop the Abuse, Restore Oregon Now. Same thing on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find us. We do encourage you, to become part of our social media network, because, like I'd mentioned earlier, some people haven't heard of us. So if you'd be so kind as to share this broadcast, if you'd be so kind as to share both of our links, Ben Edtl on, I just followed you and you followed me back on Twitter. Ben Edtl on Twitter. I'm D. Lauren Darnell, but we also have Restore Oregon Now on Twitter. And then we're both on Facebook and Instagram, but you can also sign our petition, if you will, at restoreoregonnow.org. I'll give you the final. That petition works. There's free little pockets of freedom all across the state because of the Stand for Freedom. So go sign it and send it. And if you write a check, you got to sign it and send it as well.
Sign it and send it. Whatever you do, sign it and send it, folks.
Take off your mask and sign it and send it.
Sign it and send it. We'll take it. Hey, good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.